Hey folks, I'm Rob Franek. I'm editor-in-chief here at the Princeton Review. If you've joined us over the last several weeks of time, you know that on the daily, we are answering your question and discussing issues around college admission and test preparation in light of COVID-19 and its repercussion on education. Today, we are focusing again on the AP exams, but very specifically strategy on these new incarnation of this very unusual test in 2020. So we're focused on this question, which many students volleyed our way. What do I do when my whole AP exam is just 45 minutes and free response questions only? Folks, our direction to you at the Princeton Review is clear and pointed, and it is to get strategic. There are 6 different steps that you will need to take, and they're going to be easy steps for you to master to earn every point that you deserve on those AP exams. The first one is super easy. Know your test. Now, folks, we've talked about the differences between last year's test and this year's test, and you know them and know them well, but the College Board, the creators of those AP exams, list each of the changes in the format to all of their tests and any modification that they've made. Now, we've left a link directly to those changes on the College Board's website in our session description on YouTube. But the truth is, folks, that some AP exams in 2020 are simply changing more than they have in past years, and some not changing much at all. So here's a couple of examples. For AP Language and AP Literature, the responses are going to be analysis question. We've talked about that in the past. But the truth is that historically, those analysis questions have appeared as the second free response question on past edition of both exams. So master those things, and you are going to perform superlatively on those 2 AP exams. But if we shift focus to another set of AP exams that have changed more dramatically in 2020, we can look at any of the AP history exams in each of their incarnation. As we talked about before, they've changed to document-based questions, but students are familiar with document-based questions because they appeared on past exams. However, the document-based questions for those AP history exams this year have changed not only the questions, but the rubric themselves. So that leads me on to my next point, which is the scoring rubric. Now, we teach this to all of our AP students at the Princeton Review. You must familiarize yourself with the scoring rubrics. Now, the College Board puts each of the detail of their scoring rubric on their AP portal. And again, we've linked directly those things, that link, on our YouTube session description here as well. But you're probably asking the question, why should I care about the AP scoring rubric? But the truth is, that likely in past standardized tests that you've taken, the SAT, the ACT, and if you've taken any essay section from those exams, whether in the face-to-face format in a testing center or in a practice environment, then you'll know that the scoring rubric for those essays were a holistic rubric, which simply means that your overall score is based on the big picture, the whole essay. But the truth is that for the 2020 iteration of the AP exams, that is simply not the case. The graders are going to be looking for something very specific elements to be in your responses. And folks, wearing my test prep teacher hat, that is awesome for you, because the truth is you know exactly what those graders are looking for when you're familiar with the rubric itself. And if you serve it up, then it is glorious for you, because you're going to be put in a position to earn all of your possible points. The next thing, and you've probably heard this from every teacher that you've had in the classroom, but it's more important now than ever, and that is practicing. And I'm going to sharpen that, and I will tell you that I mean practicing your new test-centric know-how as much as possible. We know that the best way to improve anything is to practice it several times. This is certainly true on the SAT and the ACT, but folks, it is more true now than ever on the AP exams. The best predictor of your success on those AP exams is going to be how many times you take practice tests. Now again, the College Board, the creators of the AP exam, allows access to their AP classroom, again linked in this YouTube segment, and you can pick from old editions of the AP exams. You find the relevant sections for the new exams and you practice for them. We also have those same practice exams at the Princeton Review, completely retooled for the administration for May and June of 2020. What I love about it is that you'll be taking our practice tests on a computer, likely the platform that you're going to be taking those exams on this May and June, and also you'll receive feedback from one of our AP tutors at the Princeton Review. It's going to sound corny, but the best way, folks, to earn your 5 is just the way that you get to Carnegie Hall, and that is relentless practice on those exams. Number 4, review your practice. And folks, the answer keys for your practice test, the answer keys themselves are the scoring rubric. So if you review your work, you need to think about this. You need to be absolutely critical when you go through your responses. Ask these 2 questions as we do with our students at the Princeton Review. Did you really do everything that you needed to do in order to earn that point? And I think the second question is even more helpful, is what can you do differently the next time that will ensure that that grader is compelled to give you every point? Folks, we teach this to our own students. Practice is great, but practice driven by evaluation is test preparation gold. Next point. Number 5, and this is the power of friendship. Folks, use your friends, use your network to create study groups to prepare for this exam together. And it should go without saying, but I'm going to say it out loud anyway. In no way should you cheat on the new incarnation of the 2020 AP exams or collaborate in any way during the exams themselves. But that said, forming a study group of your friends and other folks in your class is totally fair game. Specifically, if you use that friend group, that study group, to do 3 things. Number 1, take the same practice test. Number 2, pass that practice test, your responses, along to other folks and let them grade you. Folks, one of our golden tips for test preparation is saying that the best way to learn is to be able for you to teach that concept to somebody else. So form your study group today so you can start just that. And folks, this is the 6th one, and then I'll leave you here for today. And this is game day, test day strategy, and it is to follow through on what you learned. Now remember, we've talked about this in the past. The new AP exams are going to be open book and open note, but they are also open rubric, which means that you know exactly what those graders are looking for. And again, all you need to do is to serve it up to them. So make it as easy as possible for those graders to award you every possible point by giving them exactly what they're looking for on those FRQs. Folks, again, we have so many AP resources for you here at the Princeton Review. My name is Rob Franek. I'm Editor-in-Chief here at the Princeton Review. Please do reach out to us, give us a call, reach out on our website or any of our social channels if we can be helpful in any of these questions. And again, I'll be back with you tomorrow. Thanks so much.